If you are like me, you do not like the evidence that John Lennon pulled a Houdini and was in on the AIDS attack. We know from how quickly Martin Sheen pounced on the material poachered by Vince Irene with the help of John Schulman, that Hollywood was quick to be engaged in politics in the city of Pittsburgh. The circumstance where we found KC being used as a symbol for an intersection of ethnic exchange pussy ball. Operating out of Salk Research Labs and Louis Kahn's labor team in Lawrenceville, Pittsburgh, over there by D'Alessandro's funeral parlor, and Leslie Park. We know that KC was a binary attempt by Trumpy to Putinese to legitimize the theological ethnic structure of chattel slavery. As the only answer to the breakdown of the institution of marriage. Family values taught that you got married and you stayed married and you fought for your family, and that's how you gained property rights and recognition. And when you start changing that, you become a collective, the will of the corrupt. And they unleashed mass murder as is their wont. They bypassed my family. My sister was mortified to hear that I had been locked in a house from the inside with, of all people, that doom agent, Kasparowski. At Carnegie Mellon University and Richard Starkey glorified this horrifying cruelty towards a deaf man in obvious circumstances of trauma, brutality, and manipulation that they chose to call bullying, when it was really the mask of torture. Kasparowski was probably one of the Polish Falcons. I don't know much about them. I don't know that he was. That Hodaruski of Claymont was, if he was. Friend of Tedesco, the Strip District. Guitarist in Fripp's Enterprise. A link to Scorsese. And Scorsese was working with Peter Gabriel, who was the double crosser who put all that together. They have a media system that played out what George Will called one-man psychodrama, the effect of neuro manipulation on the rejected lover, and the auto-hypnosis of Amnesty International on the sissified side of his mind, to see which would win in this Jekyll and Hyde struggle between humiliation and the desire to protect somebody from oneself. And they created a pretzel of logic whereby they would never have to concede that I never harmed anybody, because they always had a question that would help them sell their lewd peep show of pornographic genocide. It took a great deal of derision for them to circumvent common pleas court. How could virginity prove rape when the girl herself denied it? Seems like a easy sell in a court of common pleas. The people were wowed by the Jeffin Corporation. They were wowed by Obama. They were wowed by the way it allowed the AIDS attackers to rub it in our faces and say anyone who cries about it is a sissy like Queerball. The shape-shifting bullies of the labor union got away with it by guerrilla theater. The military added the science of biochemistry. They tortured me into Parkinson's and left me in this prison for the snitch. Moonshine prison of Parkinson's. Prison of the body. And for failing to show my military gangster camaraderie by validating their favorite crime, which I refused to do. I objected to their incitement to date rape. They kept me out of school. They castrated me. They raped my deaf advocate. They took my loved ones hostage, threatening to execute bystanders. It's hard to explain the intimacy with which these artificial intelligence invaders, observations, what they called rapid eye movement, a neuroplastic implant. It wasn't hiding any memories. They had sealed shut, kidnapping and gassing me and torturing me on a freezing cold day when I was a little child. Since I couldn't remember what it was, they were free to cake on any allegation they wanted. And sound mental health let them do it. It's hard to understand the sly, we think you know what we're saying techniques of forensic assertive. They convinced me that the only way to save Shannon Harps from being Ripper murdered was to let them give me a Tylenol, and they Ripper murdered her anyway. After bringing me to this Rothus safe zone, with promises of protection from abused deaf women's advocacy services. The police administration, who want to see Jimmy Creary fight. If it's the last thing they do, they're going to see Jimmy Creary fight. Had a mentally retarded deaf girl with epilepsy raped to show how macho they are. That's peace through strength. Tedesco, Scorsese, Martin Sheen, they're to blame. They operated from a make-believe West Wing they call Hollywood. Chauvinists, shape-shifting bigots who went from sitting on Alabama porches with their rocking chairs and shotguns to being drone warriors wearing the Star of David without blinking.